Hello and welcome, I'm John Sunch, and I'm here joined by the other half of this podcast,
Akash Lush.
And this is Mildly Interesting.
Mildly Interesting. No, seriously, just mildly interesting.
So our first topic for today is one that has brought a lot of controversy over the years, is that of assisted suicide, or euthanasia, or assisted dying, whatever you want to call it. It's basically allowing someone to die on their own choice. This is done medically, obviously, and it's only legal in very, very specific parts of the world, like Belgium, Canada, Luxembourg, Spain, and some states of the US. Other countries, such as Austria, Italy, and Germany, have legalized this, but have yet to legislate or regulate it. The reason we are bringing it up this time is because of Switzerland, who have just now come up with a 3D printed suicide pod, as they're calling it, which is basically a concoction that would painlessly kill a person in about 10 minutes by flooding itself with nitrogen and reducing the oxygen rapidly. Now, to understand this, we have to understand that first there's normally some prerequisites need to be met by a person in order for this to be implemented, such as being terminally ill and having a sound mind. Usually the criteria that someone has to go through to be allowed to go for this procedure. Akash, what is this suicide pod that Switzerland is now implementing?
Well, glad you asked. This is a really this is a really interesting invention. I think first there are some definitions and classifications that should be made clear. Euthanasia is the act of intentionally ending a life to relieve suffering. For example, lethal injections administered by a doctor. And under English law, euthanasia is illegal and considered manslaughter or murder. Then there's assisted suicide, which is intentionally helping someone else kill themselves. So this could range from providing them with strong sedatives or buying them a ticket to Switzerland where euthanasia is legal. Then there is assisted dying, which in contrast to euthanasia and assisted suicide would apply to terminal ill people only. In Switzerland, basically all of the above, I believe, is legal, and it's regulated. So there's euthanasia, assisted suicide, and assisted dying. The primary company that deals with euthanasia and assisted suicide are called Dignitas. And Dr. Philip Nitschke designed this suicide pod that could be 3D printed. And the way it works is when you're in the pod, it basically fills up with nitrogen, which decreases the oxygen levels within the pod rapidly, and this will lead you to lose consciousness and die within about 10 minutes.
Yeah, it'll just feel like you're falling asleep, basically.
Yeah, basically. And the way it works is it's activated from the inside. So the activation button, like the go suffocate me, but it sounds like a painful death, but it's not really. Lack of oxygen just makes you feel heavy, and it makes you feel sleepy pretty much. So you'll just be knocked out, and then you'll die in your sleep, which is a very peaceful way to go. It's activated from the inside, and there's also an emergency stop button inside, obviously, if the patient has a last-minute change of heart.
Yeah, but the problem here, I think, especially because there's a lot of pro and against arguments, right?
Yeah.
But I think the problem here, one of the quotes I have from the doctor that invented this, is that he aims to remove, and I'm quoting here word for word, remove any kind of psychiatric review from the process and allow the individual to control the method themselves.
Yes, he wanted to demedicalize the dying process, which is that possible? Do people want that?
What do you think about the idea of assisted suicide or assisted dying or euthanasia? What do you think about the whole idea?
The thing is, right, I understand it especially with people who have terminal illness or they have certain neurological disorders that would cause them to become someone or something they're not happy with. And we're talking about illnesses that may turn you into a vegetative state or may sort of people, being afraid of forgetting everyone they love and who they are. Assisted suicide and euthanasia sort of it gives people a chance to sort of go out peacefully on their own terms, how they would like to be remembered.
But I think for me at least, the problem with this is that it just takes away from all that you just said, because it's supposed to be something that is like available, massively available, right? So anyone could just 3D print this machine and it would work. So admittedly, anyone would be able to just build it and kill themselves.
That is a argument against it. It's a taboo topic, but people with sort of mental health issues such as depression or even some extreme cases of anxiety, they get suicidal thoughts as part of their symptoms, along with other mental health issues. The way that Dr. Philip Nitschke wants this to be done is that he wants to make the blueprints available for everyone, so they could just simply download the design, like you said, which is a problem, because for some people, it's about sort of ending life on their own terms and not having to go through the pain or suffering or putting other people through pain and suffering of them being terminally ill or being changed by a neurological disorder. But at the same time, it could be that people die too young before they can turn their life around,
even though they don't actually want it.
Yeah.
See, this is where the whole argument of personal liberty, which I understand, and I agree with to a certain extent. The whole argument for me falls apart when you talk about mass production of these things, because a lot of people, and I've certainly encountered the type of people, and I'm pretty sure you too, certain people have suicidal thoughts even though they don't actually want to die, and sometimes they do try to kill themselves even though that's not really what they want. It's a consequence of depression, certain types of anxiety and whatnot. So for the record, for instance, in Oregon, only 5% of people who wanted assisted suicide were referred to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, to sort of rule out clinical depression from their reasoning for doing so. Which in my opinion is very, very dangerous. And I'm pretty sure that you'll have sort of like more founded opinion given like all like the education you have in like psychology and all. But for me, it's really, really dangerous to like sort of make these things available to anyone.
Yeah, I will say like the whole point of demedicalizing death is very dangerous, because the power of taking someone's life, you want that to be regulated. You want that to be in the hands of professionals, of people who can assess people and say, you have the right to go out peacefully, but but to other people can say you need therapy. You just need help, and you need support through like a mentally challenging time.
Exactly. It's not so much as like giving you the right. It's like more of a like assessing whether or not you're of sound mind to actually know what you're doing and like what's actually happening here.
Dr. Philip Nitschke, he did hire a legal expert, a Swiss legal expert, and someone called Daniel Heulermann, and his findings suggested the pod did not constitute as a medical device, so it would not be covered by the Swiss Therapeutic Products Act, and also believed it would not foul the laws governing the use of nitrogen weapons or product safety. So basically what he said was the pod itself is not covered at all by Swiss law, which obviously brings up a lot of criticism, because that means potentially its use did not need to be regulated. And Dignitas themselves, the leading company of euthanasia, the sort of providing euthanasia services, said that no time soon would it be accepting the use of the pod as one of its methods, because it's just not regulated. It's just not tested. Basically, this doctor has created a device that somehow falls outside of current law, which means that it falls outside of current regulations as well.
Do you think it's likely that it would actually like go through?
Not anytime soon. I believe there are only 2 devices in total, with a third currently being manufactured in the Netherlands. But I don't think anytime soon are we gonna see this suicide pod pop up. Like, you know, it's not gonna become a household appliance anytime soon. I feel like there's still gonna be, if anything, the Swiss government is gonna get word of it, and I feel like something is gonna have to be put in place to make sure its utility isn't abused, basically.
Yeah, I think we kind of fall on the same idea that the idea of euthanasia itself is to be taken in sort of like a case by case basis, and it should be very much like a last resort.
Yeah.
And it's really scary to see these sort of things, these sort of like inventions being brought to public, because you know, we kind of look at it and like scoff at it and be like, oh, there's no way this is getting through. And then, you know, sometimes some of these things actually get through, and then you just like see yourself wondering like, how did we get here? So, for my favorite part of this podcast, we've got the first segment, and it is dumb questions no one asks but us.
Woo! I love this part.
So, today, my question is, if you decide to describe yourself as indecisive, are you decisive or indecisive? Discuss.
Okay. Wait, no, say it again. I think I got it, but I'm not sure.
If you describe yourself as indecisive, are you decisive or indecisive?
If you describe yourself as indecisive.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Interesting. Because you can decide that you're indecisive.
Yeah.
Odd. But then that means you are it's like a paradox.
It is a paradox.
Yeah.
Have you got an answer for this one?
No, I just literally thought it, like, it just blew my mind when you said it.
It sounds like a tongue twister at the beginning, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it does, yeah. Oh no.
If you want to let us know what your answer is to this question, please do let us know in the comments or in our social media. We would love to listen to what you have to say.
Oh yeah, please do message us. Do at us.
How about you, Akash? What's your dumb question of the day?
Oh, do you not have a conspiracy theory for this?
I surprisingly do not have a conspiracy theory for this. I can make one up if you'd like.
Yeah, go on. Tell us why. Tell us how this works. If you're indecisive, how can you say that you are indecisive?
Right. So if I have to sort of bring my inner Alex Jones to the conversation, I would say that this is... Have you got your tinfoil hat on?
Yeah, tinfoil hat is going on.
So I would say that the question itself is a method by the government to control the way you think.
Okay.
Right, so they ask you these kind of questions so that you don't think about what they're actually doing.
Okay.
So you just stay dumb. That's how philosophers are made, you know? They ask them a question, like a really hard question, and they just like think about it for the rest of their lives, and they just, you know, think. There you go. That's my inner Alex Jones. It's all the government stuff.
It's all a government conspiracy.
Exactly.
It just happens. My stupid question is, why is lip skin different from the rest of our skin.
Why
the
is
skin-
lip skin?
Yeah. So lip, the skin on your lips that make up your lips is a lot different from your normal skin on like your hands and legs and feet. And you can tell because we don't put chapstick all over our body. We only put chapstick on our lips. So begs the question, why did we evolve to have like these pieces of like different skin?
What if, right?
All right?
What if, people a long time ago when they discovered lipstick, right? They just started doing it, and now we have like an inherent gene that just gives us different skin. So all the people before lip skin was invented, just had like everything was the same color.
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
So according to the internet, lipstick was invented in 1884.
Okay.
Right? Why do you think we don't have photos that old?
1884?
Yeah. Do we even have photos that old?
I don't think so. Let's just say
Exactly.
not. Yeah, we don't.
Why do you think it is?
I was gonna say that probably just because I think there's a smart answer to this, where it's like we evolved to have like sensory organ on our mouth that's easily accessible, so we're more easily attracted to each other, thus making babies more easily, and thus making sure that we, survive as the human race. If you study evolution, you will know that all creatures that survive are just the ones that are the horniest and make the most babies. But
We are very good at making babies, indeed.
yeah. But I was gonna say probably because God didn't like imagine if like all of our skin was lip skin, like you would have like a spit roast of like a chapstick, like you know the kebab things.
Kebab.
You would have like a spinning like chapstick on a kebab in your living room, and every day you would just go up to it and like coat yourself in chapstick, make sure your skin doesn't chap. So God just didn't want us to do that, so he confined the lip skin to just our lips, so that we don't have to have huge chapstick.
So thank God is what you're saying.
Basically, thank God. Now, we turn our eyes towards the United States of America, specifically the Lone Star State, Texas itself, which has made headlines yet again for its highly controversial and almost dangerous abortion ban law. About 100 days ago, the state legislature of Texas tried to pass a law which bans abortion outright after the 6th week pregnancy mark. It was heavily criticized due to one, many women don't really know that they're pregnant at 6 weeks or even before 6 weeks, and two, it did not make any exceptions for rape or incest. So no matter how you were impregnated, after 6 weeks, you could not get an abortion, period. Now, obviously this case went to the Supreme Court because it seemed to contradict Roe versus Wade, which is another big controversial ruling, but it's a ruling that was enshrined because it basically gave a constitutional right to abortion. And the Supreme Court has held that for about 50 years. So basically, Supreme Court up till now has upheld the right to abortion. And since this Texas ban banned abortions, people thought that the Supreme Court would be on their side. However, in a 5-4 ruling, the Supreme Court declined to ban the Texas state legislature due to procedural reasons, I believe they stated. And I do want to just add on quite quickly that another part of the law that was criticized was it essentially made everyone bounty hunters. So
Yeah.
part of the law is that if any individual, it's not like the state legislatures or like any person that's part of state government. Just any individual that sues or takes to court any other person that assisted in an abortion past 6 weeks or received an abortion past 6 weeks and wins that lawsuit, that individual not only gets all their legal fees paid, but can get a reward of up to $10,000.
And bear in mind, this is not, aiding and abetting in this case does not mean just the doctor. Right?
No.
This can mean the receptionist. This can mean the taxi driver that brings you to the abortion clinic. This can bring the friend that told you about abortion. This can mean a whole lot of things. And all those people can be sued for aiding in, again, a post 6 week pregnancy. This has obviously been criticized by everyone. Everyone with IQ above 20.
Yeah. Like I said, Texas is known as the Lone Star State. It's one of the southern states, and the southern states have been known to take state freedom and sort of local government's freedom quite seriously. Even though they have literally been sued by the Justice Department. If you are not on the same... If the Justice Department turns around and goes, maybe you guys are stepping over that. Like, that's a bad sign. They have justice in their name.
Recently, though, in the courts, the SB 8 law was upheld, which basically gives abortion providers the right to challenge this law, like the whole abortion law, legally. The problem with this, though, is that even though they give him the right to challenge the law, which is obviously a good thing, there is no restriction whatsoever for the law itself. So it will remain in place for as long as the courts decide that whatever challenge comes their way is not founded.
Yeah.
So until then, literally any abortion post 6 weeks is just straight up illegal.
Like I said, the Justice Department sued Texas over this legislature, but they failed to sort of kill it. And the Justice Department also put a call to the Supreme Court to suspend the law. But again, the Supreme Court did not, just ignored them. But with this sort of turnaround, it's kind of like a compromise, but not really. Because even though abortion providers could sue or challenge lawsuits based on this law, they could only proceed with lawsuits in lower courts against some public officials with specific disciplinary authority over medical licenses. But they could not sue state court clerks, state judges, or Ken Paxton, named specifically, who is the state attorney general. So really, the abortion providers can only sue those who have authority over medical licenses and not people who actually made this law. It seems like more of like a middle finger rather than like a compromise. It's like, hey, you can sue the people who gave you your medical licenses, but you can't sue the people who are banning women from taking obviously we're not gonna talk about, abortion is a whole nother taboo topic, but like, goddamn, not have exceptions in cases of rape and incest, and to also make it so no one can sue state legislators and the general attorney himself. That's just mean. That's just stupid.
That's straight up like sort of like power to the government kind of thing. Yeah, I think as you rightly pointed out, abortion itself is a topic that, you know, needs to be talked about in depth in sort of another episode. But no matter what you think, whether it should be allowed or not allowed, I certainly think so. For not having exceptions for rape or incest, it's crazy. It's actually like a major step back when it comes to like these sort of legislations and when it comes to sort of like understanding abortion itself. And it's a bit scary.
To have something like this pass in this day and age, I just fear it's gonna set a very bad precedent. Because, as you know, Texas isn't the only, let's say, conservative-minded like state government there is in America. And if people see that Texas can get away with this, then I'm just scared that other states might copy the Texas template.
No, not just that, but the fact that like the US has such a influence in the rest of the world, can like the fact that it could sort of set the bad example when it comes to this. Hopefully not, but it could mean that other countries follow suit, and that's everything but what we want to see.
Welcome to one of my favorite segments of the show, Idiot of the Week, where we sort of put forth our picks for just kind of people who maybe weren't using 100% of their brain. So, Santos, who is your Idiot of the Week?
Oh, I am glad you asked, actually, Akash. My idiot of the week is one that I've been meaning to bring to this show ever since the first episode. His name is Francis Bacon.
Oh, wait, okay.
Do you know about Francis Bacon?
I might know about Francis Bacon.
So, Francis Bacon theorized that fresh meat could be preserved if it was frozen. Right? So he's having this argument with one of his pals, like, you know, in his carriage, just moving through the snow. Or that's the myth anyway. And they were really going at it. So, you know, to prove his point, he got out of his carriage, packed a whole chicken in a bag, covered it with snow, brought it in, and according to the myth, he then got a cold and died of pneumonia.
Oh no.
This is the most ironic death I've ever seen. And the fact that his name is Francis Bacon just makes it so much better.
It really is. So good. I love it.
Anyway, Akash, what is your idiot of the week this time?
Okay, my idiot week.
Your idiot week.
My idiot week. My idiot week is every week. But my idiot of the week, again, has no name. We're gonna call him Jack.
Jack.
My idiot of the week is the police officer in the Thames Valley in England that lost a drone. Okay, so it was a BBC News report. Thames Valley police officer lost control of drone. A police drone lost during a search operation was found miles away in a children's playground.
Ooh,
So
no.
The drone, which was worth 7.5k pounds, 7,500 hard British sterling pounds, was used after reports of an unlicensed music events. The Air Accidents Investigations Branch found the drone did not pick up a GPS signal when it was launched, so could not record its takeoff point. Investigators found it lost the connection with its controller and drifted in the wind, and then landed automatically in a children's playground about 5 kilometers from where it generally was released.
Oh no, please.
Yeah.
No, Jack, what have you done?
So, do you want to know my favorite thing about Jack?
Go on.
So, the Air Accidents Investigation Branch, so AAIB, found that it's the pilot of the drone, that Jack himself, had not met the force's own training requirements to operate drones. So it said that users should fly the aircraft for a minimum of 2 hours within a rolling 90-day period. So, you know, to get accustomed to the aircraft, they need to fly it for at least 2 hours in total. This had not been met, as Jack had only flown it for 90 minutes within the last 90 days. Before the drone was temporarily lost. My favorite part of this report is these two separate lines. So after Jack lost this 7,500 pounds drone about 5 kilometers from where it was first launched, it says that the police force has learned from the incident, and also that the drone is now back in use, which is my favorite, like, specific lines of the report, because it means that the police have learned to check who's flying the drones, and also they've just, like, this drone that's lost, like, connection with the controller, yeah, it's back. It's flying around again in London. Like, don't worry about it.
Just waiting for it to kill another child.
Oh my! Imagine if Jack accidentally launched, like, a drone strike against a children's playground.
Do you remember that advert for safe driving that was banned?
Oh my god! Yes, I know exactly which one. With the bus. The car.
The car that just, like, killed a bunch of children. Now that would be like one way to do an advertisement.
Don't drink and drive a drone, guys. Don't do it.
Right, so moving on to sort of lighter news, more celebratory news. New Zealand is absolutely cracking down on smoking. Alright, why don't you tell us, Akash, what's happening in New Zealand? What's happening between them and all the smokers out there?
Basically, New Zealand has proposed a package of policies and regulations that plan on ultimately completely stopping the sale or consumption of tobacco within their country. So, the reason why they're doing this, like, so suddenly is because the New Zealand Associate Minister of Health, Ayesha Viral, basically stated that their goal of getting Maori smoking rates to fall below 5% was not achievable within basically decades, unless you know, something drastic were to happen. And lo and behold...
And something drastic did happen.
Yeah, lo and behold, this is the drastic thing that was going to happen. So, currently, 11.6% of all New Zealanders aged over 15 smoke, a proportion that rises to 29% amongst indigenous Maori adults, according to the latest government figures. Basically, smoking kills about 5,000 people a year in New Zealand, making it one of the country's top cause of preventable death. 4 in 5 smokers started before the age of 18. So what they plan to do is they would roll out restrictions that will be rolled out in stages from 2024, beginning with a sharp reduction in the number of authorized sellers of tobacco products, followed by the reduced nicotine requirements, basically lowering the amount of nicotine that can be present in certain products. And from 2027, they would create what they call a smoke-free generation, where people aged 14 and under in 2027 will never be allowed to purchase cigarettes. So it will be, by 2027, it will be completely illegal to purchase cigarettes for people aged 14 and under. And then in the subsequent years, those lower generations still, you know, buying cigarettes they will phase it out, and it will ultimately become illegal to purchase or consume tobacco products within New Zealand.
Actually, from what I read, I don't know if this is different sort of to what you're saying, but people that are now born after 2008 will not be allowed to buy cigarettes in their lifetime whatsoever.
Oh, like right now?
like people that are I think 14 right now, people that are born after 2008 will not be allowed to buy cigarettes in their lifetime.
Oh,
This is this comes from the BBC. Now this could be like sort of like those kind of news that are like a bit ambiguous in their in the whole thing, but the idea behind it basically is that future generations will just like it will be straight up illegal to buy cigarettes. So the reactions from doctors so far obviously have been great, but some people are sort of more suspicious of what it will actually do. So some people think that this could lead to a tobacco black market sort of thing. What do you think? Do you think we will have dealers selling cigarettes on the street?
from what we've seen with previous like historical examples, if you ban a widely recreational and addictive substance, obviously it will discourage some people from buying and consuming it, but those who want to will find ways of getting it. It's important to note that with these new restrictions, it'll be like the second harshest country on tobacco consuming and selling. The first being Bhutan, who have outright just banned smoking and tobacco altogether from them. But like I said, I do believe, and as we see in Bhutan as well, it's not widespread, but you do see a black market where people want to buy cigarettes, either because they think it's cool or because they're already addicted.
The government has also acknowledged that, and they have said that they will put in place. So, like, they will try and crack down from like the bottom up. They will pay a lot of attention when it comes to illegal or like cigarette dealing.
Yeah, and I think we also have to talk about dairies. So dairies in New Zealand are surprisingly nothing to do with cows or milk. Maybe they used to be, but not anymore. There are about 4,000 small family-owned corner stores known as dairies in New Zealand, and they are sort of a staple Maori culture. If you ask any New Zealander, they've all grown up with a dairy sort of just like a 5-minute walk away, and that's where they get it's the corner shop. It's the corner shop for New Zealanders, and it's sort of quite significant in it's sort of traditional like Maori, like like modern Maori culture. It's kind of like the chip shop, like English people. Like it's kind of like a symbol of like stereotypical English culture. Like everyone's got a chip shop in town. Like you just go pop down fish and chips. It's the same with dairies, but the Dairy and Business Owners Group, which is a lobby for local convenience stores, basically stated that while everyone agrees a smoke-free New Zealand would be great, that this law does nothing to compensate dairies for the loss of revenue that they will get for the prohibition on tobacco products. So before, basically, let me paint you a picture, Santos, of all sort of the New Zealand of yonder days. You'd wake up.
Do paint me a picture. Paint me a picture.
You would wake up and you'd look in your fridge. You got no eggs. You got no bread. How are you gonna make breakfast without eggs and bread? Well, you pop down to your local dairy, buy locally sourced eggs and milk and bread, and there you go. That's how the dairies used to make their revenue, by selling sort of everyday produce. However, with the introduction of supermarket giants in the 1980s, dairies had to sort of switch what their main source of revenue was, because everyone went to like, I don't know, whatever giant supermarket brands they have there. They go to the supermarkets now for their produce. Dairies are now their main source of income, with some of them stating that 50% of their revenue comes from solely tobacco products. Obviously, there's other stuff, they still sell local produce and maybe junk food now, but most dairies agree that if tobacco products are prohibited, they're just gonna lose their jobs, and most of them will have to sell, and we may see the death of sort of a staple of New Zealand culture, especially when franchises such as Circle K and a franchise called Night and Day, they have offered to buy up local dairies and convert them to their model of stores. So what we might see is that we lose dairies and big companies move in, and yeah, we'll see the death of sort of a local business model.
Yeah, this is like the obviously I think anyone in their right mind would agree that a smoke-free country or smoke-free population is much better than one that is heavily addicted.
Oh, definitely.
But at the same time, we have to understand that this is like a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
In every country, smoking, not every country obviously, but like in most westernized countries, smoking is a big industry. And so these sort of measures would very much kill a lot of businesses. So it is sort of like a two-edged sword. How do you feel about it, Akash? Do you think this is how we should go about it?
Well, the law is still in its like infant stage, so the details could change here and there, but the current version they have now could be deadly to those whose revenue depends on tobacco. We see the same thing with like green energy and coal. Like, if you switch from fossil fuels to renewable energy, people who depend on like coal mining or oil refining will lose their jobs. So you have to account for it. Have to make sure.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because I think it just kind of illustrates what I was actually saying of, despite being a very, very aggressive measure, it is something that is dealing with a very, very, very aggressive problem. So obviously smoking and climate change, not the same thing, but smoking, especially amongst young people, is a very, very, very big problem. So I do think, at least in my opinion, that having these sort of aggressive measures when it comes to these sort of problems is a good thing. But like you said, we should definitely take account for, all the consequences that come with it. Right, so that wraps it up for this week's episode of Mildly Interesting. If you want to read up on any of these topics, there will be a link in the description. Make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Spotify. We've got a website, we've got a Facebook, we've got everything. Just follow it, like it, and contact us with any remarks, anything you have to say. And without further ado, I was João Santos.
And I was Akash Lush.
And we'll see you next episode.
Bye.
Mildly interesting. No, seriously, just mildly interesting.